first time I traveled intercity alone. I was 17 years old. I was heading to Edinburgh to visit my grandmother, and I had 2 hours to kill inside King's Cross. The station felt enormous in a way that was almost hostile. The ceiling arching overhead like a cathedral, the boards flickering with arrivals, crowds moving past me like a current I couldn't step into. Everyone else seemed to know exactly where they were going. I didn't even know where the bathroom was when I finally stood up to find one, dragging my suitcase behind me. That's when he approached. He was in his late 60s, thin in silver hair, wire-framed glasses sitting low on his nose, a brown corduroy jacket, a folded paperback tucked under one arm. He looked exactly like somebody's grandfather. "You look a little lost, dear. Can I help?" I told him I was fine. He asked if it was my first time traveling alone. I hesitated, then nodded. His face lit up. "Well, you're in luck. I'm on the 14:32 to Edinburgh myself." Something felt off. I couldn't name it, but I was lost, anxious, and too proud to admit either. So when he pointed past the main cafe toward a narrow corridor between a W.H. Smith and a shuttered ticket window, I looked. "Just down there," he said. "Much less crowded than the main ones." A hidden gem, really. He offered to wait with my suitcase. I said no to that, at least kept my bags close, and walked toward the passage. 20 feet in, the corridor ended at a grey metal door. Network rail, staff only. Authorized access required. He had lied to me. I turned around. He was standing at the entrance to the hallway, completely blocking the only way out. The paperback was gone. His hands hung loose at his sides. He was still smiling. But the smile had shifted, like a mask that had slipped slightly off-center. "It says staff only," I managed. My voice came out small. He tilted his head. His eyes moved over me slowly, in no hurry at all. Then he started walking toward me. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry. I could have sworn it was through here." A soft chuckle. 10 feet. I pressed my back against the steel door, knuckles white on my suitcase handle. My phone was in my coat pocket, but my hands were shaking too badly to reach for it. His hand began to rise, reaching toward my shoulder. The door behind me swung open. A woman in a high-visibility vest stepped through, radio clipped to her chest, clipboard in hand. She read the scene in about half a second. "Sir, this is a restricted access corridor. Return to the public concourse immediately." The man's hand dropped. Every trace of the grandfather smile vanished. His face went completely blank, and somehow that was the most frightening thing of all. Then he nodded once, said of course, "My mistake," and walked out without looking back. "Are you all right, love?" I nodded. My eyes were burning. She walked me personally back through the station, past the W.H. Smith, past the cafe, all the way to a bench directly beneath the CCTV column near the departure gates. She radioed something on the way. When we reached the bench, she crouched down to my level. "Stay in the main concourse. Don't follow anyone anywhere. Doesn't matter how certain they sound. You need directions. You find a staff member in uniform at an information point. Understand?" I nodded. Tears finally spilled over. She waited until I had my platform confirmed, gave my shoulder one brief squeeze, and left. I didn't see him again during the wait. Not at the platform, not on the train. He had told me he was on the 14:32 to Edinburgh. He had lied about that too. The journey was 4.5 hours. I didn't sleep. I sat facing the aisle, back against the window, replaying the corridor on a loop, the flickering light, his footsteps on the concrete, his hand rising toward me. When I arrived at Edinburgh Waverley, my grandmother was waiting at the top of the escalators in her winter coat. When she hugged me, I felt safer than I had all day. "How was the journey, darling?" "Fine, Gran." I didn't tell her. Didn't tell anyone for a long time. I felt foolish for following him. Ashamed that a cardigan and a paperback had overridden every instinct I had. But here's what I need you to understand. Predators don't always look dangerous. Sometimes they look like somebody's grandfather. Patient, well-dressed, completely certain of themselves. They approach you when you're at your most vulnerable, lost, anxious, too proud to ask for real help. And if anyone, no matter how kind and no matter how convincing, tries to lead you away from crowds and cameras and open spaces, you do not go, not for any reason they give you. The bathroom is never down a corridor with no signs. My name is Daria. I'm 16. My sister Nora is 24. My legal guardian since our parents died in a house fire 2 years ago. She gave up everything at 22 to make sure I was okay. She has never once let me feel like a burden. The night it started, we were coming back from Brighton. My birthday treat, a day at the coast, Nora's idea. We arrived at Victoria Station on the last service, nearly midnight. We exhausted and sandy and happy in the way you only get when a good day has fully used you up. But the side exit was a bottleneck. 3 services had arrived within 20 minutes, and everyone was funneling through the same barriers at once, jostling with bags and suitcases. That's when the man in the grey hoodie appeared. He came out of nowhere, stumbling hard into Nora from her blind side. The impact knocked her sideways into the barrier. Her shoulder bag flew off. Phone, purse, travel card, loose receipts scattering across the floor. His face was hidden. Hood pulled low, black tube scarf pulled up over his nose. Only dark darting eyes visible above it. He dropped immediately to one knee. "Oh God, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Let me help." His hands were shaking, but his movements were precise, deliberate. He held each item a beat too long before passing it back. The purse, the travel card, the phone, fingers lingering, eyes still darting. Every motion was rehearsed. He was performing clumsiness, not experiencing it. Nora snapped at him to back off. He stood slowly, hands raised, then melted back into the crowd before either of us could say anything else. By the time we pulled into our street, it was nearly 1 a.m. Nora reached into her bag for the house keys and went completely still. They were gone. We got the spare from our neighbor across the road. Nora reset the alarm. The house was dark and quiet and smelled faintly of the candle she'd burned that morning. Everything looked exactly as we'd left it. I was in my room grabbing clothes for the shower when I heard it. A shriek, sharp, high, cut off too quickly. Then a heavy thud from upstairs. Then her voice, ragged, from the top of the stairs. "Daria, get out of the house. Someone's..." Behind her, at the top of the stairs, stood a man. The grey hoodie, the tube scarf now pulled down around his neck. He was smiling the way someone smiles when they've been looking forward to something. I bolted for the front door. Nora crashed into me from behind, both of us grabbing for the deadbolt at the same time, fingers fumbling, shaking too badly to grip. I could hear him on the stairs. Unhurried, one step at a time, in absolutely no rush. "You dropped your purse at the station, sweetheart." His voice was level, conversational. "I just wanted to return it. Just being a good neighbor. Found the address on your rail card. Got your key. Let myself in to wait." A pause. "For both of you?" He was 4 feet away. I finally got the deadbolt back and grabbed the handle, but he moved fast, both palms slamming flat against the door. "We're not done talking yet, girls." Nora grabbed my arm and yanked me sideways toward the back of the hallway, the guest bedroom, the only room downstairs with a lock. She spun and slammed it shut behind us, twisting the lock with both hands just as his weight hit it from the other side. The whole frame shook. He pounded 4 hard, rhythmic blows, then stopped. I gave the 999 operator our address. Told her a man had broken in. My sister had a head injury. We were locked in a room. We listened to him move through the house, footsteps going room to room, drawers sliding open, something ceramic shattering in the kitchen. Then the front door opened. Footsteps on the path. The gate. He was gone. Police arrived 3 minutes later. Nora started crying for the first time when they announced themselves through the door. I realized she'd been holding it together entirely for my sake. The house was destroyed, every drawer emptied, sofa cushions slashed open, wardrobes pulled apart, mattresses flipped. Nora needed 4 stitches. CCTV from Victoria Station showed the man in the grey hoodie deliberately colliding with her at the barriers, but his face was never visible on any camera. 7 months later, he was never found. We installed cameras, motion sensor lights, a new deadbolt and a chain. I sleep in Nora's room now because I can't be alone in mine without listening to every sound the house makes. She checks the locks every night, 3 times, in the same order. She thinks I don't notice. 2 weeks ago, Nora found a note tucked under the windscreen wiper of her car. Folded once, no envelope. 4 words. I pressed so hard into the paper, it had almost torn through. He found our address from a rail card he held for 3 seconds in a crowded station. He turned that into a key to our front door and 7 months of knowing exactly where we sleep. It started with a staged stumble, hands moving too deliberately over things that weren't his to touch. If someone bumps into you, watch their hands, not their face. That's where the real intention is. I'm 17 now, but I remember that day at Manchester Piccadilly like it happened this morning. I was 5 years old, and I was going to Lapland. My dad had surprised us the week before Christmas. Proper tickets, the whole trip, the kind of thing you see in adverts. I hadn't slept properly in 4 days. I was running entirely on sugar and the unshakable certainty that I was about to meet the actual Father Christmas in his actual home. We were waiting on platform 6. Dad had the tickets. Mom had the bags, and I had 0 patience for standing still. The platform was busy. Families with luggage, commuters, a school group in matching yellow high-vis, moving in a long caterpillar line. Every few minutes, a new train would pull in on the opposite platform, a sleek, tilting one that leaned into the curve as it arrived and made my jaw drop. I couldn't see them properly from the bench. Too many adults, too many coats in the way. I shifted and craned and groaned with the full theatrical suffering of a 5-year-old catastrophically wronged by the universe. That's when the man on the next bench leaned over. Old to my 5-year-old eyes, ancient, though thinking back now, he was probably in his mid-60s. Wide, deeply lined face, very pale eyes, large hands with knobbly knuckles. There was something slightly off about his face I couldn't have named at 5. He patted the empty space beside him, perfectly positioned, clear sight line straight down the platform to the tunnel mouth. "Come sit here. You'll see every single one come in." Mom smiled and said, "How kind." Dad looked at him for a beat longer than necessary. A pause I didn't understand at 5, but have thought about many times since. I launched myself across and sat down. He was right. The view was perfect. Class 390 due in 2 minutes. he told me, with the authority of someone who'd memorized every timetable in the building. Very pointy nose, very fast. You'll love it. It arrived exactly on time. It was brilliant. I bounced on the bench and told him it was the best train I'd ever seen. He laughed, a big rolling laugh that moved his whole shoulders. Lapland. He pressed a hand to his chest. Father Christmas country, you lucky boy. His thumb began moving in slow circles on my knee. I could feel it through my jeans. I shifted slightly without my brain fully telling me why. Where do you live, Elliot? I bet you've got a lovely house, I told him. Cheadle. It didn't occur to me not to. Which school do you go to? I used to teach, you know. I might know it. I told him that too. And which hotel are you staying at in Lapland? Your mum and dad booked somewhere nice. Something felt wrong, I had to answer. I don't know, I said again louder. I tried to slide away, but his arm came out alongside me. Not quite touching. We're friends now, aren't we? Friends tell each other things. You're not my friend, I said. You're a stranger. His hand tightened on my knee. He leaned down until his face was close to mine. Hasn't your mum taught you to be polite to adults? He pinched my cheek, hard, fingers digging in and twisting. And it hurt. My eyes filled up immediately. Elliot? My mum's voice, sharp and close. She was standing 3 feet away, and her face had done something I had never seen it do before. Gone completely still. The way faces go still before something serious happens.
I have to warn them.
She was looking at the man, not at me. She put both hands on my shoulders and turned me behind her. What exactly were you asking my son? Quiet, controlled. He spread his hands wide, just making conversation. Kids, you know how they... What were you asking him? My dad appeared at her shoulder. He wasn't looking at the tickets anymore. His face was doing the same, still serious thing as hers, and the look he was giving that man was one I had never seen on him before, and have never forgotten since. The man looked at my dad, looked at my mum, then he looked away. He pulled out a folded newspaper and opened it and stared at it. For the entire rest of our wait, maybe 15 minutes, he didn't turn a single page. Not once. When our train was called, he stood up before anyone else. He folded the newspaper, stepped into the crowd, and walked quickly toward the main concourse exit. My dad kept his hand on my shoulder the whole way to our connection. My mum walked on my other side and kept looking back. Not nervously, carefully. The way you look when you want to be certain something isn't following you. We made it to Lapland. It was everything I had hoped. Real snow, real reindeer, a real workshop. Father Christmas had a real beard, and when I sat on his knee, I told him about the man at the station. He looked at me very seriously and said I had done exactly the right thing. 3 days after we got home, my dad called me into the living room. The television was on. A reporter outside a train station. Blue lights in the background. The man from platform 6 was in handcuffs, being guided through a concourse by 2 police officers. Investigators had found written notes, records detailing children he had spoken to, names, schools, hometowns. My dad turned the television off. Then he picked me up and held me for a long time, without saying anything. My mum sat beside us, arms around both of us, crying quietly in the way adults cry, when they can't fully stop but don't want you to see. I'm 17 now. I understand the rest. I understand what those notes meant. I understand why he wanted the hotel name, the school, the street. Trust that feeling. Don't wait until you're certain. By the time you're certain, you've waited too long. That is not friendliness. That is reconnaissance. Get your child and walk away. Don't explain. Don't engage. For once in my life, I'm grateful I was a rude 5-year-old.